Don, can you hold that for a few minutes? She needs to do something. Okay, you can talk, kid. I don't know if I can do this 2 hours.
We can tag team.
Feel like a bookend. Spread a needle. Okay, what are we gonna do with it now?
All right, everyone. Gonna kick off, just first start, want to say welcome. Thank you so much for coming on short notice to this event. My name is Frances Yasmin Motiwala. I'm a board member and organizer with Activists San Diego. And we are honored to be here with you all today and to have helped create space for Veterans for Peace, for the 50501 movement, and for all of you to come together and connect at this important time. I'm just gonna kick off with a quick chant, and then I'm gonna hand it over to Ian Mooney of Veterans for Peace. The reason I'm holding my phone up like this is that we're all on the live stream. So here's one chant for us. It's a okay, this chant is a call and response. So, I don't know, but I've been told people here are mighty bold. Fear and lies will not divide. People fighting side by side. I don't know, but I've been told people here are mighty bold. Fear and lies will not divide. People marching side by side. All right, over to Ian Mooney. Thank you all. And now over to Ian Mooney, the president of Veterans for Peace San Diego.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. Hold on. Can everybody hear me all right? And thank you all for being here today. Veterans nationwide are standing up and pushing back on Trump's cuts to the VA healthcare system in Washington, D.C., here in San Diego, and hundreds of other city capitals nationwide and in Washington, D.C. This is an important time to be organizing. Former Georgia Congressman Doug Collins, who was sworn in on February 5th, 2025, as the 12th Secretary of Veterans Affairs, not intending to improve the VA healthcare system, but rather to redirect veterans to a private for-profit healthcare system that does not know or understand our unique culture and the problems and issues that arrive, warriors coming back from deployment and trying to reintegrate into civilian life. Issues like TBI, PTSD, Agent Orange poisoning, Gulf War syndrome, and toxic exposure to burn pits, and many more. At a time when the VA has over 64,000 unfilled vacancies, he has hit the ground running with plans to further gut the VA healthcare system by slashing 83,000 more jobs of both frontline medical workers and staff, a 17% cut to the 482,000 employees of the VA, 90% of whom work in the VA healthcare system, 30% of whom are veterans, according to an internal memo on March 5th leaked to the Associated Press. Shame. At the same time, he has released a video through the VA to veterans in an effort to divert our attention from this orchestrated train wreck that I and all veterans enrolled in VA healthcare received in his effort to get out in front of the memo by stating that he is improving the service at the VA by getting rid of excesses and duplicate staff. Look, I don't know too much about economy or anything like that, but if you cut 17% of VA healthcare workers and can boast that he's improving healthcare, as far as I understand it, less workers means less healthcare, less opportunities, less health. That doesn't seem right to me. This is going to cause severe strain on an already strained system, killing morale, making people unable to get the vital health care they need. VA is a socialized medical system. Socialized medicine is good. It helps us. We should not be cutting VA healthcare. We should be expanding VA healthcare and other systems like it. Because when more people have access to healthcare, it means the nation is healthier. And at a time when, let me see, we are now 5 years past the coronavirus pandemic, which last year coronavirus remained the #3 most lethal, the most common cause of death in this country. This is not a time to be cutting healthcare. This is a time to be expanding healthcare. That's right. We're getting to that. We're getting to that. Since the first Trump administration, the assault on the VA has been relentless in Congress and the press, and is now kicking into high gear in the second Trump administration to privatize the nation's largest healthcare system, serving over 9 million of our nation's veterans. He's the guy that called us suckers and losers. I don't see any of those here. And if we stand for this, maybe he's right. But we are not going to stand for this. Call all of your members of Congress and the White House and push back on this. This is the time for action. Under the recent House bill passed by Trump's budget cuts, this process will only be harder. Here are 5 reasons why veterans are hit especially hard. 1, eroding the VA workforce. 2, gutting VA healthcare and budget. 3, destaffing the VA suicide hotline. 4, losing research potential. And 5, cuts to other benefits. Who knows what could be around the corner with this administration. And Trump's cut to social services, the country's Veterans Crisis Hotline, which both the VA and the Department of Health and Human Services oversee, is losing employees to layoffs despite existing staff shortages. An estimated 800 to 900 of the 1,130 crisis line workers have always worked remotely. So ending remote work options will further undermine staffing. More new policy to further erode and disrupt VA healthcare. If that is not enough, the stopgap funding bill just passed in the House cuts $22 billion from the $25 billion allocated for burn pit funding under the PACT Act that was approved by Congress in 2024, and that will shutter the Cost of War Toxic Exposure Act. All of this to help fund tax cuts for the uber wealthy on the backs of veterans, workers, seniors, children, and average Americans of all kinds. Instead of standing up to protect and defend the Constitution, what's good for America, they are taking a slash and burn approach to our sacred institutions developed over centuries, like the VA, EPA, USAID, Inspector Generals, Social Security, dozens of other programs, agencies, and government departments. They want to shutter and subvert. What's next? Veterans have already seen enough of what it's like to have the fabric of society destroyed, to see the potential for civic life eroded. If you are interested in joining this effort, if you're a veteran here and you don't know who Veterans for Peace are, find me, go to sdvfp.org and stand with us as we oppose these cuts, oppose this administration's policies, and fight for expanded veterans healthcare and healthcare for all Americans. That is the way forward. Thank you very much. Now, is Yusuf here?
Not yet.
No. Okay, Libby, are you ready? Thank you so much. I'm now going to turn it over to the commander of our local Barrio Logan VFW, Libby. Thank you so much for joining us, Conrad. When healthcare is under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
That's right, thank you.
Hello, sir. Nothing happens if I don't have these glasses. Good afternoon. How are you? I'm Vivian Lazaro, and I am the commander for Veterans of Foreign Wars 7420 Don Diego. We are located in San Diego, to be specific, in Logan Heights, 1 block from Chicano Park. So come visit us. Getting dressed today to come here was very eye-opening, enlightening. I never thought I'd be getting my fatigues out, get ready to go to a protest, Vietnam style.
Yeah.
Never thought we'd be doing this, right? So it's shocking, and although like I do speak at VFWs quite often, this is very different. And I know I work with the organizations Veterans for Peace and several other ones in here, Black Deported Veterans of America, because we advocate for deported veterans as well. You didn't know that? Yes, America deports veterans.
Right.
So we stand here today, not just as individuals, but as a united front. Veterans, families, and advocates, demanding that our nation uphold its promise to those who have served. It is unacceptable that the very people who put their lives on the line for this country are now being cast aside. The recent mass layoffs within the federal government have disproportionately impacted veterans, cutting thousands of jobs at the Department of Veterans Affairs and other agencies. These are not just names on a list. They are men and women who have continued to serve this country beyond the battlefield, bringing with them experience, expertise, and a deep commitment to selfless service. With veterans making up nearly 1/3 of the federal workforce, these cuts are more than just statistics. They're a direct attack on the livelihoods of those who have already sacrificed so much. When veterans lose their jobs, we all lose. We lose skilled professionals. We lose institutional knowledge. We lose the very people firsthand who knows what it means to serve our fellow veterans. Do we not like to get our care at the VA as opposed to anywhere else? Yes. Let's be clear though, these cuts don't mean just lost paychecks. They mean lost health care, lost stability, and lost lives. We already know that unemployment is a driving factor in veteran suicide. We lose 17 veterans to suicide a day without any of this happening. They are the single largest employer of veterans in the country. Should be lifting veterans up, not throwing them into uncertainty.
Right.
And I know firsthand what it means to be on the edge. After my second tour in combat, I struggled with PTSD. It nearly took my life several times. But the care I received at the VA gave me hope when I thought there was none. Innovations like ketamine therapy, I was finally able to begin healing. Without that help, I wouldn't be standing here today. I wouldn't be going to DC to advocate for deported veterans. I wouldn't be able to have reunited with my kids. How many more veterans like me won't get the chance if these cuts continue? How many will be left to suffer alone? Because the services that saved me are no longer available to them. What if nobody answers the phone? To make matters worse, these decisions have been carried out with cold indifference. Veterans are being notified of their terminations through impersonal emails, 'em, processed like numbers rather than human beings. These layoffs have been handled with the blunt force of a wrecking ball and not the precision and care that the situation demands. This is betrayal.
That's right.
It is betrayal of the contract.
Yes.
As our VFW Commander-in-Chief just said, honor the contract. Honor the contract. Page 4 of our contract says that for our service in the armed forces, we will be paid and we will be given benefits and resources. Non-negotiable. It's not charity. It's not a privilege to get it. We earned it. Our life was hard. Exactly. Our leaders love to talk about honoring veterans. But when it comes to acting, we see the opposite. Well, not today. Today, we are here to say enough. We demand that Congress and this administration take immediate action to stop these indiscriminate cuts, reinstate critical positions, and protect the benefits that veterans have rightfully earned. The key word is earned. We will not be ignored. Just me by myself, I'm loud enough for all of y'all here. We will not be silent. And we will not stand by while our government turns their backs on those who served. To every veteran out there, to every supporter, now is the time to make our voices heard. We are the ones who protect this nation. We are the ones that earn our inherent freedoms. We are the ones who make the sacrifices to defend this country. You will listen to us. We must stand together and remind our leaders that we will hold them accountable. Honor the contract. Stop the cuts. Protect our veterans. Here are the federal retiree army 20 years.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you so much, Libby. Very well said. All right, next I'm going to invite my comrade Jacob from Anik Bayan to speak. Please come up, Carmen.
Hello, my name is Jacob, and I speak to you as a member of Anak Bayan, an organization of Filipino youth and students fighting for national independence and genuine democracy in the Philippines. Like so many of us here, my family immigrated here for the U.S. Navy. My grandpa served in the Navy for 20 years. He came from the slums in the Philippines and worked his way up to being a chief petty officer during the Vietnam War. He didn't talk about his military experience much, but I think it hurt him to remember. I know he was proud of his achievements, in spite of the discrimination he faced against Filipinos. But towards the end of his life, I started to see a different side of him. He was no longer the strong lion that could lift both me and my brother into each of his arms. Now he struggled to even get out of the car by himself. He constantly needed my mom to drive him to the VA hospital so that he could get his disability benefits. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
I think about him a lot now and what he had to experience to give me a better life here. He joined the military because he had no other option. And after he got out, he still needed to fight for his benefits. Many other veterans weren't so lucky. They're sent abroad to take up arms, believing they are heroes protecting this nation. But when they come back, they get no heroes welcome. Shame. Many veterans end up traumatized, homeless, and unable to integrate into society again. They're taught how to shoot a gun, but not how to deal with their mental health. An average of 17 veterans commit suicide per day, and that number is only rising. How many veterans are tossed aside once they've served their usefulness to the military-industrial complex? Rather than services for our people, our government is sending billions of dollars worth of military equipment to fascist dictators and war criminals like Benjamin Netanyahu and Bongbong Marcos. Shame. Since 2015, the US has sent more than $1 billion worth of planes, armored vehicles, small arms, and other military equipment and training to the Philippines in its inter-imperialist war against China. The Philippine flag I have on stage with me is presented internationally with the blue side on top. During times of war and distress, the flag is flipped so that the red sits on top. Today, the Bongbong Marcos regime is currently committing war crimes on its own people, accelerating the war with China, and upholding US imperialism. When the rich wage war, it's the poor who die. Just this February, despite the ban on non-essential travel, Mayor Todd Gloria spent more than $8,000 of taxpayer money to take an unannounced trip to the Philippines, staying in luxury hotels and resorts. Worst of all, he met with the head of the armed forces of the Philippines to better equip the Philippine military, who are notorious for committing human rights violations and oppressing the Filipino people. Why is our taxpayer money being used in the killing, disappearances, aerial bombing of villages in violation of the rights of Filipinos?
Shame.
Meanwhile, our servicemen are deployed to commit human rights violations against people in third world countries for the interests of US dominance abroad. The US military is not here to help us. In fact, they're the ones who need us to fight in their wars. No matter where you look, here or back home, it's the same story. The rich get richer, and life gets harder for the average person. We will not be casualties for US economic interests. There is an alternative to dying for the US war machine. It is serving the people. It means fighting for a government that puts people over profit and an economy that can support its labor force. From Palestine to the Philippines, stop the US war machine. From Palestine to the Philippines,
stop the US war machine.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Karen. It is important to remember that every dollar the U.S. spends on expanding its wars abroad and its imperial conquest is $1 not spent on taking care of the veterans who were fighting in those wars and continue to fight in those wars. Therefore, saving the VA also means drawing down these imperial conquests and investing that money back in the people. Thank you. Okay, I'm now going to turn it over to Jonathan, a young veteran from the Party for Social Integration. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, it's great to be here with everybody here in support of the veterans against this fascist regime. Yeah, so I just want to start off with this quick chant, get ourselves going. I'm sure most of you are already pretty cut already, but might as well do that.
Donald Trump, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side. Donald Trump, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side. Donald Trump, you can't hide. We can see your greedy side. We can't hide. We can see your greedy side. Like my friend over there from Veterans for Peace already said, my name is Jonathan Chavez, and I'm a member of Veterans for Peace and the Party for Socialism and Liberation here in San Diego. I am a Marine Corps veteran.
Thank you.
And I served in the military from 2015 to 2020. And I was stationed on Miramar base for the majority of that time, so here in San Diego. I come here today due to the Trump regime's attack on all veterans and former service members. As we speak, Trump, with his billionaire oligarch cronies, are aiming to cut 80,000 jobs from the Veterans Administration. That's right, Shay. That is 17% of the VA's workforce. And due to VA healthcare employing 90% of those VA employees, that means a large amount of these layoffs will directly affect VA healthcare services and make it harder for myself and others to get the healthcare that we need, that so many veterans depend on. That's right. And that's not all. 25% of all VA employees are also veterans. That means that their firing of 80,000 workers will disproportionately affect many veterans' ability to survive and make a living. Now, it's clear to anyone paying attention that cutting benefits to veterans is bad news and does nothing to help uplift our communities. In fact, these policies will exacerbate the serious issues that we are already facing as veterans.
That's right.
Veterans make up a disproportionate amount of the homeless population, and veterans also experience an elevated risk of food insecurity. With 11% of working-age veterans living in food insecure households. And now Trump wants to cut back on our social benefits? No. I don't think so. That's right. Trump's full-on assault on the already meager social benefits that veterans and working-class people get in this country can only work to worsen these issues. As veterans who have sacrificed years of our lives in military service, you would think the U.S. would want to take care of us. Like, that would be a big deal for them. Especially given the Republicans' constant flag hugging and nationalist pronouncements, you would think veterans would be on the top of that list of people to help, of people to serve. But clearly not. The only interest they are working for is for the billionaires. Both parties, whether Democrat or Republican, have only one constituency, and that is the billionaires. And that is the corporate interest. And the ultra rich. Regardless of who is in office, both parties only serve the interests of that ruling class. The reasons why the cuts to the VA and the gutting of the administrative state is happening in this country is due to the system that we're living under. And that system is called capitalism. It is due to a tiny few at the top controlling all the power and resources in our society. The resources that we, the working class, made, not them. That is why we need a new system where the resources of society are held in common and where we are the ones in power, the working people of this country. And that society is called socialism. And as veterans who have shouldered the burden of unjust imperialist wars, where we risk our lives and futures for no other reason than for the profits of these billionaires, these oligarchs, and U.S. imperial interests, we need to stand up with the rest of the working class and say to this fascist regime in office that we're not going to take it anymore. That we're going to fight and demand that they stop destroying already the small amounts of social safety net that this country has, and that they stop their attacks on the rights of working class folk. And we're going to demand that we have a truly democratic society. A society that works for everybody, not just the billionaires, but for all of us. And I reiterate, that's called socialism. Now we can make that happen. Because when the millions of people stand up to demand their rights as human beings, their rights to a good and dignified life, and their right to control their society, no capitalists and no billionaire and no fascist pig can stop us. Now we have a long road ahead. This fight will not be easy. However, we can and we will win. We can and we will beat this fascist regime. All right. Also, one last point. As we move to continue our struggle for a better world, I just want to plug, the PSL is holding an emergency rally tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. at National City, their city hall, to fight the latest attacks on our civil liberties. The unlawful abduction of legal U.S. resident Mahmoud Khalil by ICE. Because all our struggles are interconnected. It's not just a struggle for veterans, it's not just a struggle for Palestinians, it's a struggle for the working class. It's a struggle for all of us. So thank y'all for having me. Thank y'all for letting me on the stage to speak. I'll just leave it with a small little chant.
Yeah.
Not really a chant.
Read it.
Okay. Dare to struggle. Dare to win. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. Yeah, I remember swearing an oath to fight for the people, not a bunch of guys up at top. So thank you so much, Conrad. I'm now going to turn it over to Yusuf Miller. Please come on up. It's very nice to have you here. He's got a good plan.
My name is Yusuf Miller. I'm a 24-year veteran, United States Navy, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, active duty, hospital foreman, or in other words, combat medic. And as a member of the Black Deported Veterans of America, I want to quote my brother and leader, James Smith, when he says that this is not an issue of other than an honor issue. This is an honor issue. This is a respect issue. And this is what they don't understand. We fought and selected this country, and this country is going to deselect us. How can they select us? You cannot deselect us. We selected and honored a 24-year, 20-year, 15-year, 10-year, 4-year, whatever it is. We selected this country, and this country should never deselect us. This is an honor issue. As Brother Smith would say, this is an honor issue. When you just give people in the VA a pink slip, those people, prior service members, giving them a pink slip, out of all the solutions that we need for the VA, and there are many, out of all the solutions we need for the VA, that staff is not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way we can continue the level of care that had a problem that we need to increase and cut staff. And those people that you're cutting now falling in despair financially also belonging to the VA. What are we talking about here? We're spiraling and circling the drain with our veterans. This is disgraceful. The country should never allow it. Yeah. We fought for you. You should fight for us. Now we're going to do a little chant. And it'll start with me saying, we fought for you, and then you guys will say, well, I'm sorry. Let me get it straight. Sorry. Just trying to get it together just now. They fought for us. We'll fight for them. They fought for us.
We'll fight for them.
They fought for us.
We'll fight for them.
They fought for us.
We'll fight for them.
This is only fair to people who have given their lives, A lot of my brothers and sisters in uniform have died for this country. They have lost limbs for this country. They have lost their minds for this country. And this is no way to treat them, either in their service or for the people who survived service and came back to support other service members and be given a pink slip and sent into poverty and unstable in their healthcare and in their work and environment. Nobody demanded that we serve this country. We did it voluntarily. At the time, we believed in what the country was doing. We did. We did our duty. We believed in it. Whether it was right or wrong in the overarching scope of things, we did not think of that. We thought of serving our country honorably. And then when we ask for honor and dignity in our golden years, in our late years, in our sunset years, in those years, they said, we're not going to take care of you medically. We're not going to take care of you financially. And you're going to have to deal on your own. From an unelected official. It blows my mind how an unelected official is getting rid of people in the DOD and getting rid of people who serve this country. An unelected official.
He never served anywhere.
We can talk about that for the rest of the time here. I don't think I have the time. I think I've ran out of time. So I want to say to you today that we have to fight for our veterans. We have to fight, and we have to let them know, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, it is irrelevant when we're talking about people who have served this country and people who have harmed and lost part of their livelihood, limbs, arms, even their common sense for this nation. We cannot let those people fall to the wayside. We are their warriors now. We are their warriors now. You are driving now into the fight into the service of people who have served the country. Thank you.
Wow.
Hey, can you hold this minute?
Okay.
Thank you, Brother Yusuf. I just want to, actually, wasn't planning to speak, but I remembered a story of, oh man, back in the early 2000s, I went to a book talk. It was at the Rand Institute in Santa Monica, and it was Richard Haas was the speaker, and he wrote, his book, I think, was basically kind of creating justifications for war. And I got to ask the question afterwards. It was, when you all are making decisions about foreign policy, do you ever take into account the costs to our veterans, the cost to caring for our veterans afterwards? And he immediately stopped me and said, no. We can't do that, or it would paralyze us. Saying, you are paralyzing this nation with your ignorance and your lack of holistic thinking. I want to invite you guys to actually a couple events coming up. Tomorrow, I'm actually, along with Activist San Diego, we're putting together an event called the Garden of Healing. And that is an opportunity for, we're working to bring together healers of all modalities with change makers and people who have been on the front lines of organizing, activism, and of war. So if you go to Instagram, Activist SD, and I will get it on our website tonight, or come see me afterwards if you want the information, but that's happening tomorrow from 12 to 8, and I just felt like folks here might want to join us tomorrow. And we also wanted to speak to the, I guess, a 50501 movement. Folks maybe have heard that this term 50501, and what does that mean? And it was a call to action that someone put out nationally for 50 states to have 50 protests on one day. And that sparked a movement, because we'll just say 5051 is a code word for we gotta defend against fascism and protect our Constitution. So we are all 50-51. If someone says, you know, who is this 50-51? It's all of us. And many organizers have been motivated by that call, and Activist San Diego has been working with, and other organizations were all, collectively planning. So today was, a national call for an event. And so, we went into rapid response and made this happen. So really so grateful for every one of you making it. Grateful of our speakers who came out and shared their stories with us. And I want to also thank the countless organizers. There have been many organizers who have been working behind the scenes to make this happen. I want to give a huge shout out to Makeda and the World Beat Center for allowing everyone. They're really coming in clutch to give us space and protect us from the rain today. I want to ask for everyone to consider throwing a little cash that you might have and making a donation. Here, we're going to pass a hat or something to gather some funds to give the World Beat Center to keep these doors open and to keep a space for the community. A brother from Veterans for Peace wants to come up and say a few words, and then also after that, we're going to have John Falke, one of my dearest friends, also. So,
My name is Jan Rubin. Thank you, Council. Marine Corps did 2 tours in Vietnam. Speak right into the. Hello?
Yeah.
My name is Jan Ruman. I served in the Marine Corps during Vietnam and did 2 tours. I had suicidal thoughts most of the time I came back. The only thing that saved my life was going to the VA in 2013. Another Iraq vet drugged me. He said, "You're more screwed up than me. If you don't go, I ain't going." So I went. He was right. I want to say, though, that I'm now with the Save Our VA, which is a SOVA for short, of Veterans for Peace. And we know that the VA needs to be fully funded, fully staffed, and fix the problems that Congress has created. The next one is the best health care anywhere. Who in this room does not believe that it is not the best health care anywhere? 92% of veterans out of the 9 million that use the VA, 92% are thrilled and happy with the performance of the VA, as am I. I want to give a big shout out to all the staff, the doctors, the folks that clean the VA, the folks that feed the VA patients, the folks that family care, the nurses, all of the staff. We know who they are, who's been there. They're great people. And we don't want to march backwards, Donald Trump. Your ideas stink.
That's right. John.
just so everyone knows, we're coming around with John Falke's hat. So this is a very special hat and a very special man. Thank you.
We have to thank a lot of people for bringing you here today. This is a wonderful showing, isn't it? Yeah. You could get put in jail under misadministration for protesting, you know. But this is the right of the people to assemble. How many of you would like to see our service members helping to support this damn deportation of immigrants around the country? How many of you would like that? What they want to do the losses from the war. And they're taking that away from us. Are we gonna let them do that? The hell not. We have a wonderful democratic country here to preserve. Yes. Children go to school and get ready for careers in a wonderful society. And they want to take away our whole Department of Education. Can you believe it? And it's like, we've been able to choose the people who represent us in the government by an electoral system that for several hundred years has been working fairly well. And they want to take it away from us. With a king in power, he's already talked about a third term. Does this happen? Hope the hell not. We've been confronted by a very rich, millionaire, oligarchic group that really wants to control not only the country, but the world. And they're on their way to doing it by removing people and digitizing their places on a grand computer that Mr. Musk has in Tennessee being built called Colossus. I don't know if you know, it's the fastest computer in the world. He has the latest AI stuff helping him as he did during the election. This is what's in store for us if we let it happen. Are we gonna let it happen? Anyway, one of the constitutional ways to resist tyrannical power is the power of the people to peaceably assemble. I can't believe they're putting Mr. Tate in a jail down in Louisiana for protesting at Columbia against the Gaza genocide. But they're doing it, and they're making an example of them and trying to deport it. We're fighting it. We're up against a lot of big money. So flooding the streets with people and keeping them aware that we will not stand for what they're doing is a very important way of supporting whatever else the hell the Congress and the courts and so forth are doing. It's not an easy process, but people like 50501, Activist San Diego, the environmental groups, of course, the veterans groups. Nice to see the veterans of foreign wars joining the Veterans for Peace in this type of country. How many of you have felt the arm of someone that's been laid off? Not only for the Veterans Administration, they're doing it with the Education Administration, the Environmental Administration. They're trying to close us down. We're gonna let them? There are other ways of protesting. Some of you write letters. Some of you contact your congressman by phone, and some of you actually go and see them. Last time some of we Veterans of Peace went to see Mr. Scott Peters, he was all called up like this. He knew we were going to give him hell, but we didn't. We actually coached him to the end of the meeting. We had folded his hands and listened. He's a very conservative Democrat, but we've got to sit in with people like that and pressure them to change.
Yeah.
That their time in office is going to be judged by how much they resist this administration. I don't know if you remember the election that Guts got into office. He was running against Lori Saldana. Some of you know Lori. She's a very powerful protest person. She was in the legislature and got up to be assistant to the Speaker of the House here in California. A good friend of mine. We worked together on helping to renew Earth Day back in 1890. She was hundreds of votes different from him in that election. Because in the last week, his millionaire wife helped him to get a letter out, a scrunchy letter that you couldn't answer in the last week, that really changed enough people's mind to get Scott in office. And he's leaned on that millionaire wife ever since. But he can be affected, and people in the streets can affect him. going to his office certainly helps. Anyway, there are lots of ways we can resist. The people here that have led this meeting are working on it every day, and they need your Bill's help. And coming here today on a rainy day is a damn good example of that, and I want to thank you. I want to thank in the last minute to bring us out of the rain. Let's give another hand to Michaela. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, John.
Thank you, our new president, Ian,
Thank you so much for coming, John. Thank you.
for taking time from getting his doctorate to work on protests like this. Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, it's a PhD in philosophy, so it's not that big a deal.
Have a seat.
We're now going to open up the mic to the community here. If anybody would like to come up and speak, please do over here if you're interested.
FAO.
For 3 minutes. And I'll invite our church team. Thank you. You're a veteran.
My name is, I'm not with Stephanie, but I'll do my best. By trade, how's that? All right. So by trade, I'm a psychologist, all right? I've been thinking an awful lot about what's been going on. And I've been having a lot of very, very deep, intimate conversations with people who are very frightened. The way I look at it, we are at a crossroads. All know this. For the very, to determine the very character of our nation. When I look at, when the people I work with look in the news and they see the people who are taking charge and have been for quite some time, not just the people at the top, but all of those underneath them that are bolstering them and supporting them and giving them the strength, because no one takes power. Power is given. Power is all about influencing people's behavior and getting people to say, yes, I will do what you said. All right. So when I talk to people who have had lots and lots of life experiences, many of them veterans, they say to me that when they look out and see all these people, they see their high school bullies. They see their childhood abusers. They see their neglectful parents who spent their entire lives tearing them down and trying to make them into something that they were not. Okay, that's what we're up against. Many people do not have what we would consider human decency. And we very often, very often on the individual level, I have this conversation a lot with people. We have to recognize the kind of person that we are up against. And there are an awful lot of folks who simply want to dominate, who simply want to control. They are hard to negotiate with because they don't listen to the kinds of things that most people will listen to. Okay, we've been told that empathy is a sin recently. Okay, the greatest weakness I've been told. Yes. Okay. So what we are up against is determining what kind of a people do we want to be. Do we want to be heartless, calculating, greedy to a pathological degree? Or do we want to be people who actually care for one another? We are dealing with people who cannot comprehend that thing. You're dealing with somebody who looks at people who sacrifice their lives, their health, and he calls them losers. He calls them suckers. He does not, and not just him, but like I said, all of those who support him. This is what we're up against. We're up against people who want to be kind and decent and people who want to push everyone else around.
Thanks for being here.
Very much so. So I just wanted to share that a little bit with you, and I'm sure I've used up all of my time. But thank you for being here. And I want to remind everybody, this is about whether we say yes or no. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for everybody coming out. You know, it bears mention before we move on to our next speaker, thank you so much. That today at a press conference, the president said that press who criticize him should be subject to his legal scrutiny. So, you know, yeah, down with that, huh? So, you know, we're up here celebrating the service of veterans, but we should also thank our press corps for coming out here and covering this event. Thank you so much. Keep reporting it, as long as it's true.
Hi, my name is Joanna Benavides de Valenzuela. I joined the United States Air Force in 2005, a month after my 17th birthday. And I'm wondering, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, where were you? Where were you when we had that war that lasted for decades? Yeah. Where were you? We volunteered our mental health, our physical health. After I got out, I got diagnosed with PTSD. I got multiple sclerosis. I got cancer. I got left to die. Until the VA helped me. The VA helped me. Because I had nothing else. And now I'm a practicing psychologist because of the VA. You have this delusion that he's on your side, he's not. And he's gonna come knocking and he's gonna come banging your door down when it comes down on you. But I'm telling you right now, he's going after us, but it's gonna be you next. I promise. If we as a society don't defend our children, our women, our veterans who have fought in combat, then who are we gonna defend? Where is the honor? Where is the freedom? My grandfather was a World War II POW. You remember what he said about McCain? But where was he during all the wars? Yeah. He's a draft dodger. Yeah. Well, I gotta say.
Thank you. Yeah, let's hear the people. Come on up, Frank. Thank you so much for coming out to support us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Veterans for Peace. Gracias, Veteranos por la Paz. My name is Juan Carlos Mercado, Charlie Mercado del Barrio. I'm a combat veteran, 13 years of service, enlisted infantry, and also as an officer at San Diego State University. Yo soy Juan Carlos Mercado, Charlie Mercado del Barrio, un soldado que dio 2 periodos de combate, 2 operativos de combate. Voy a hablar en inglés, voy a hablar en español. I'm going to speak in Spanish and English because we have, all of us who serve know that we have people who serve from almost every country of the world, if not every country of the world. Yo hablo en inglés y en español porque quiero que se reconozca que tenemos soldados que vienen de todos los países del mundo y sus voces no son reconocidas. Thank you. And I will finish with this. Where are the congressmen? Where are the senators standing up for veterans? ¿Dónde están los congresistas y los senadores que defienden a los veteranos, a los soldados y a sus familias? We need them to stand up for veterans, for soldiers, and for their families. That's what we need right now. Every senator, every congressman, everyone who serves, for every elected official who serves us. One last comment. I want this message to be shared for everyone, not just the United States, all over the world, because we got people who served and then retired overseas, they're retired South America, they're retired in Asia. They need to hear that we're here fighting for them and we're not gonna stop. quiero que sepan todos los veteranos, los soldados que dieron servicio, que ahora están en otros países, que los vamos a defender. No vamos a parar y vamos a seguir luchando. Gracias. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, amiga. Y el pueblo unido jamás será vencido. Thank you so much. Please come, my friend. Thank you for coming out and supporting our event. Thank you.
Hello.
Don't forget to introduce yourself.
My name is Randy Crawford. I was in the United States Navy veteran, 1975 to 79. The voice is cracking. I'm angry. It's like the guy who leaned out of the window. And I'm angry. And you should all be too. I listen to all of your impactful speeches, and gosh, I feel every word of it. What is happening now is a promise is being given to the United States people, not just to VA, but to all agencies that they're gutting. And it's illegal the way they're doing it, and it should be stopped, and it most likely will be over time through the Congress that finally finds their you know what and get their heads out of you know where. Then maybe some sort of order will be restored, and all this stuff that they're taking away from us really won't happen because it's just a scare tactic. And if we do not rise and say this is absolutely wrong, then we're all going to fall victim, not just the veterans, all of us. My father fought in the Korean War and the Vietnam War. I joined at the end of the Vietnam War. No conflict. You know, I didn't need the VA. I went off to art school. I had a 25-year career as an illustrator for an aerospace company. Best job I ever had until it wasn't. Now I have a great life. Never needed the VA except for my coach. But other people out here, you really need the VA. You can't afford what they're doing. And for me, it just breaks the gosh darn heart to see this happening to all of you because I didn't need it. You do. And I hope that it doesn't go away.
Yeah,
For all of us.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Janet, would you please come up?
Thank you. Good afternoon, San Diego. My husband and I came from Palm Desert today. Because even though there today was a protest at the VA facility in Palm Desert, that got organized after this one and I had already committed to it. I'm a lifetime associate member of Veterans for Peace. And I have long been on the email list and supporting the Save Our VA campaign. And we need to save our VA more than ever now.
Yeah.
I am also now spreading this message. Hashtag must out. A lot of you, I'm sure, are on social media. Get this hashtag on your social media accounts and spread it widely. This guy, originally from South Africa, a notorious racist who wrecked the Twitter platform and now is proceeding to wreck the federal government, can be removed. There's already legal actions. We can get Elon Musk out. So I want to say a few words about being a military family member, because that's why I'm an associate, not a military veteran member of Veterans for Peace, although I am a veteran of many things. The woman who follows me is going to speak a little bit more about military families as well. My nephew is a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps. We have, no, don't applaud. It's not happy. I tried passionately to talk him out of his military career. My family has lived through 3 deployments. The terror of those deployments is something that I wish every member of Congress could feel every day.
Yes.
Now I am again living in terror that my beloved nephew is going to be deployed to Gaza or someplace in West Asia, also known as the Middle East. I cannot tell you what horror this fills me with, that this is even being discussed. U.S. military contractors now are running a checkpoint in Netzarim corridor in Gaza. And the U.S. military, particularly the U.S. Air Force and the U.S. Navy, have been involved in this genocide from the beginning. This is a horror that should shame us all.
Yeah, that's right.
If the VA gets gutted, the burden upon military families such as mine will be increased just to an incredible level. Military family members already take on a lot of the unpaid and mostly unrecognized work of caring for veterans and caring for active duty troops. We have to be serious, steadfast, and consistent in our opposition. So once again, say it with me, folks. Save our VA must out.
My friend speaks my mind. Yes, thank you so much. Please, thank you for coming, supporting this community event. Mike is yours.
Thank you. I just also want to speak about the implications to our families.
I don't know. I'll take a look.
I want to speak about the implications to the families as well. All four of my grandparents fought in World War I. My father was in World War II, and I had an uncle who was a POW for 4 years in North Korea for the Korean War. And my husband, who was in Vietnam and the Gulf War, is currently buried at Arlington. What goes on with families is a ripple effect. Not just, to the immediate family. It goes. It's horrendous what families go through. These cuts are going to affect not only the immediate families, but it's a ripple effect. And it can't, the implications are devastating. The ones who need to be fired is Musk and Trump. Yeah. Not any people who are really doing real jobs and really doing the real work. And so I thank everybody here that is dealing with the whole situation on a family level. The ripple, and also one thing I do want to say is I am also a healer. I will be at the Garden of Healing tomorrow. And there's times that I want to be at the VA hospitals and stuff to do my modality, which is for healing. And I've had great success with it. I've been doing it for over 12 years and people love it. And so I look forward to healing all of you. Anybody who cares to get healed, from the protesters to the people who are organizing to the veterans and their families. So come on over. Thank you very much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Igor Zenkov, and I'm from 5051 San Diego. And like Francis, I wasn't actually planning to speak today, but in hearing the ways in which the struggles of everyone in this room reverberate outside this room, I realized that there's a number of perspectives that I think should be counted here, and I think we should think about as we fight for the rights of all veterans. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is the sort of supply side. We have the human cost of people fighting wars that may or may not be necessary, but there's also a very strange technical ecosystem. Our military industrial complex is also composed of people. My first job out of college was working for Northrop Grumman. It's so strange walking into that building, seeing, you know, the poverty elsewhere, and then you're like, oh, this is where our tax money is going to. But there's always going to be an excuse. Oh, we have lean times. We need to make cuts. We need to sacrifice some people. Inside of Northrop Grumman, there was, you know, this idea of feast or famine. But specifically, if you don't get a government contract, then everyone has to tighten their belts. And yet, during my time there was a program called Omega, which was this giant solid rocket booster that could be sold to the government. It didn't get funded. But instead of firing the engineers who worked on Omega, most of them who were very, very senior, these engineers were allowed to essentially float within the company, find and situate themselves in new places, because that company recognized that losing institutional knowledge is absolutely devastating. So many of us hold the secrets of years of campaigns in our hearts and in our minds. And this idea that we should be dealing with suicidality, dealing with poverty and food insecurity alone, if the private sector can recognize that, if we can spend $800 billion or $1 trillion of our discretionary spending on the war machine itself, we, for some reason, do not have the money left over to fund the people in that war machine. And I think that is deeply unfair. I think we need to recognize the double standard. But let's also talk about the actual conflicts that people like yourselves fought in. Now, my brother is 7 or 8 years older than me, and he was absolutely radicalized by the war in Iraq. But during my time, it was the war in Afghanistan. And the weird and eerie similarities continue. In fact, that war went on so long that it was thought that it was going to go down, and there was something, it was going to end, and there was something called the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan's Reconstruction. Basically, let's learn the lessons from this quagmire and never repeat it again. But unfortunately, the war in Afghanistan continued for so long that SIGAR was essentially writing notes for 6 years. They wrote notes on how difficult it was to train people to fight for their own defense, how if you have an economy that is deeply entwined with opium production, for example, then you need to have alternatives instead of saying, oh, you should just get rid of all your crop. Lesson after lesson. But the thing that's worst of all is all of us who have served know that we have made headway abroad. We know how dangerous dictatorship is because we have helped fight said dictatorships abroad. And the thing that I want to look towards is whether we talk about Trump or whether we talk about Biden, we immediately try to exit Afghanistan. And so much of the actual gains, for example, for women who had previously not been able to go to school under Taliban rule, all of that snapped back so suddenly. People having to fight to essentially make secret schoolhouses for themselves, disguising themselves as boys. It is completely unconscionable, and it's like a little bit of a preview of what we might find if we lose the struggle, and we will absolutely not lose the struggle. Going back to the idea that the struggles of everyone in this room ripple outside of it, I want to also mention that there was a protest at Camp Pendleton, and the specific issue at play there is that of trans veterans, people who are being expelled out of the force, which is deeply unfair because they have fought and sacrificed just as much as everyone else. And yet suddenly they are being considered unfit. A previous speaker, I believe from the PSL, talked about the idea of socialized medicine and how Republicans believe that everything should be privatized. It is baffling to me that we have essentially created a job training program and we have created a socialized healthcare program and then tell the rest of our population that that cannot work. Right. So many transgender people have either felt the call to serve or recognized that in their poverty, the only way to get the care they needed was to serve in our military. And the way that we recognize their service is to target them specifically because we think they're easy prey. That is unconscionable. And I believe it's completely, we all recognize that their struggles are our struggles and vice versa.
What time at Camp Pendleton?
Okay,
we'll let you.
Okay, I think Francis will come up immediately after and talk about that protest.
No, someone else.
I have 2 more points. I'll try and be quick. At my workplace, there are a number of people who are themselves veterans. and a few of them have 100% disability rating. And then they have to go out into the world. Because of the insufficient care they may be receiving and are about to start receiving even more, they have to join the workforces again. And watching people struggle as they essentially do technician work for those same engineering companies that are making fancy antennas for my old employer that I just mentioned, I think further speaks to the idea that not only is our veterans' rights an economic issue, a financial issue, a foreign policy issue, but they are also, in a sense, a labor and disability issue. And the idea that we look into these cuts and see this demented hall of mirrors, the same 19-year-old with an AI chatbot I approach to governments that's starting here and is going to go everywhere else, we cannot let this spread. We have to draw the line and recognize that this is the end. All right, thanks everybody for listening to me. I have one chant if you are interested. So we all recognize that the VA is a lifeline. We all recognize that the best way to cut some money is to cut the loopholes that Elon Musk is benefiting from. So when I say cut loopholes, you say not lifelines. Cut loopholes.
Not lifelines.
Cut loopholes.
Not lifelines.
Cut loopholes.
Not lifelines.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your said, friend. Before we move on to our next speaker, I wanted to let everybody know, if you're curious about the Veterans Abuse, we have a little bit of literature here for you. So find me, I'll give you one of these. And now I'm going to turn it over to our next speaker. Thank you so much. How about an inspiring thing? People coming out to support the community. That's what you want to see. It's positive.
Hi, I'm Dan, and before you're taken back by the hat, if you can't read it in the background, I'll explain it. It's not what you think it is. I'm a 26-year retired Navy officer, started at Desert Storm, and I went on to work in information operations, Black World, top secret, compartmented information operations, misinformation, disinformation, psychological operation, deception, and to see the information operations that is being perpetrated against our own citizens by our own citizens is very appalling to me. Yes. Very disturbing and very destructive. So I'll explain the hat and the shirt. The shirt is essentially a quote, if you will, attributed to George Orwell. And it says, I literally wrote a book to warn you all about this. The hat, for those of you in the back that can't read the hat, it says, make Orwell fiction again. Make Orwell fiction again. My first protest, Dan out. Yeah.
Hi there. My name is Patricia. I wasn't gonna speak today, but I'm so moved by all the support for military and military families. It's buried at Fort Rosecrans. I buried him under the flag of this country. My son is active duty. My nephew is active duty in the Marine Corps. My brother-in-law, retired, is 100% disability vet. I have another brother-in-law who is a retired Airborne Ranger Major. My father served in Vietnam. We are a proud military family. Is afraid that she's going to lose her job. After my husband died while he was on active duty service, I raised my son alone with the help of our military benefits. And to imagine there are people out there that are going to lose those benefits, I worry that my son, who's getting out of the military on Sunday, is not going to be able to access his VA benefits because of what's going on. So when there's an opportunity to stand up and fight back, we need to take that opportunity. Every time we have to keep coming out in the rain, we have to keep standing up for each other, because if we don't stand up now, who is going to stand up later?
That's right.
Call to action. Stand up and fight back.
Yes.
I call Chuck Schumer every day. I call Alex every day. I call Sarah Jacobs every day. I email them every day. Are they hearing my messages? Are they getting my emails? I don't know. I'm getting these meaningless replies that are auto replies. But what can we do? I invited Sarah Jacobs to come here today and she did not come. I do not see any other elected officials that are showing up for us. Vote them out. Stand up for each other. So thank you very much. And I want to leave us all with a chant that says, people united will not be divided.
People united will not be divided. People united will not be divided.
Thank you, and the direct number for Schumer is 202-224-6542.
Can you give us that one more time?
202-224-6542.
Oh, I know where it is. 5051 website. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out to this event. Talk for yourself, huh? Just a few minutes ago, I was interviewed by KPBS, and they asked me, "What will you do if if the administration doesn't meet your demands?" And I said, "Well, hey, we'll go knock on the White House front door and say, hey, take this seriously." But I'll also say this: is that here I have seen an incredible upswell of popular support for an issue that affects us all. Veterans healthcare is about healthcare for everyone. It's about taking care of the people who put their lives on the line to fight for this country. And if you are invested in continuing this fight, once again, my name is Ian Mooney. I'm the president of the local chapter of Veterans for Peace. Come find me, and we'll continue this fight together until we win. Damn it. We got a lot of organizations from a lot of different organizations here, so there are a lot of ways to get involved, and we're going to win. So thank you so much for coming out. And before we close, we're looking for anybody. The world. Let's give a round of applause to the World Beat Center.
Yeah. Makeda, come up for a second. And thank you all for pitching in. Thank you, Makeda. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Continue to support nonprofit organizations and all of us, black, white, red, yellow, all of us together as one.
Yeah.
It's about humanitarian, it's about all of us as one. Don't let them divide us.
That's right.
One destiny. That's liberation for all people.
Yes.
Thank you.
Don't forget, there's another action at Camp Pendleton tomorrow, 10 a.m. in support of our trans comrades. And if anybody can help us restore this place to the situation it was when we got here, we appreciate your help, and thank you for coming out once again.
All power to the people.